Okay, today I'm going to be tying a fly called a Delia's white ghost. I suppose that's how you pronounce the gentleman's name. It was come up with by a fellow in the Pacific Northwest by the name of Jeff Delia. So that's why I said Delia's white ghost. He uses these for cutthroat and salmon. And I believe he said that he's caught more species of fish on this fly than any other. I really like them for a panfish fly and a crappie fly in the springtime when the crappie are in shallow. It is a really good fly to use. It's a nymph. It's a weighted nymph. I really like to use them. You think dry and dropper trout fishing? Well, try your dry and dropper there sometime in the lake. It works really, really well. We'll put you a stimulator on the surface and hang one of these down underneath it. Really nice. I really do like them. I'll be using lightning strikes today. Size 14 streamer and nymph hook. I like them 3X long. Get a nice little long body on there. We'll be using a small bead head and some 015 lead-free wire. So you get you a hook. Get your hook ready. Get you I got a mess of bead heads here. Can't exactly give you a size, whatever size it works good with your size 14 hook there. Oop, got two of them. That's alright. I guess I'll be tying more than one fly. No biggie. Well, that's strange. I had two of them stuck together. I never had that happen. Two bead heads. That one's wanting to be a double tungsten stone. Another out of the package. I'll have to work on that one later. I guess we'll go with I got one there without a partner. I like these bead tweezers. They've got a little indentation in there to hold your bead. Sometimes beads can be a pain in the butt. I get your bead on your hook. Get your hook firmly secured in the vise. Yep, like that. Have some 015 lead-free wire. Show you how to put that on there so you don't waste any. Get a little bit. I mean, that's like maybe 3/4 of an inch. Start wrapping that on, starting at the back and working forward. This stuff is real tender. It broke on me. I did waste just a little bit of it. No. Take a drop of my Gorilla Glue. It don't take much to secure that wire. Plus you're going to have thread over it. So just a little drop of them, just a tiny little bit. Not much at all. That wire, when I slide it forward, will pick that up. And, oh, sorry about that. Slide it right up into the head. And then I can take my wire wraps back. It's a tungsten head, so it's not like I have to be you know, add a lot of weight to it. But I do like this for two reasons. It helps hold the bead up front. Sometimes, especially when I first started out and I didn't have proper thread tension, that bead head would want to slide back on me and my wire would want to slide back. Well, if you do it this way, it'll kind of prevent a little bit of that. We're using 70 denier ultra thread on these smaller flies. Pretty much for almost any trout fly, unless it's a foam fly, I tend to like 70 denier. It takes a little bit of getting used to when you're first starting out. It's easy to break. But actually with the smaller thread, you bind your materials down better than you do with a bigger thread. Seems a little counterintuitive, but it is true. It'll hold your material a little better. And it doesn't quite add as much bulk to your flies. Sometimes you don't want that big old bulky fly. So start as a jam knot right behind that wire. Trim off the tag end. Take it back to the, can't see the point of the hook, but it's about, about the point of the hook right before you start to bend. You've seen me before. I like the two-turn whip finish just to hold everything there. Hold your tension into your wraps that you put down. Okay, we're ready for your tail. Your tail here is going to be just any old white hackle feather. Come right, saddle feather right out of a package of saddle feathers. Get me some barbs. Now it's good sometimes. You go ahead and pull them off with your left hand, because then you'll be pointing in the proper direction. Now you need to trim them. Want them a little less, maybe 3/4, 2/3, or 3/4 the length of the shank of the hook. Your pinch wrap, yeah, I like that right there. Bind your tail down. You want to trim it right there where it meets the wire. This will help with your taper. Now the dubbing that I'm using, it isn't quite so necessary to do that. And you'll see in a minute my dubbing. Come up to that wire. We'll go ahead and do one run of wire up, one run of thread up on that wire. And back down to about to where the wire starts. I'm going to do this with a dubbing loop. It don't have to be a big dubbing loop. You can see this is only about 4 inches or so. Getting a whole lot. Now wrap over that loop about 3 or 4 good wraps. Then take your main line and run it twice over the dubbing loop. I pull my dubbing loop to the back so that when I go to start to wrap my body, it doesn't disturb the tail. Wrap that dubbing loop nice and tight back to the back. Come back forward. You can try to build your taper here if you want to, but I find that I'll do that with my dubbing. Got my dubbing tool, dubbing loop tool. I'll use a simple one. Keep that loop secure. Give me a 2-turn finish just so that I can keep the tension on that thread, and I'll get my thread out of the way for the dubbing loop. I got a dub. I don't have a tool rest, so I'll just let out a whole lot of line and let it hang off the end of my bench down there. Just let it hang off the end of my bench. It acts like a tool rest, no biggie. Okay, Now for a dub body. You can use tri-lobal dubbing. You can use any kind of nymph dubbing that you have. I really do like to use super bright steelhead dubbing. I'll tie these things up in about every color in that there pack. White, since it's the original, we're tying it white today. I think pretty much these imitate a small minnow. We know every fish in the doggone lake will eat minnows. A chartreuse, an inchworm, or a peeping caddis. You can tie it with a contrasting collar. I'll do a fluorescent chartreuse body, and I'll do a black collar. And when you put on the soft tackle, you got you a peeping caddis. Oh, the orange, especially in the springtime, the orange is a little baby crawfish. I don't know how many times I've caught warmouth or shellcracker and having end up puking up on the doggone dock or up on the bank, and it'll be full of doggone crayfish. Red and orange crayfish. So blue and purple. And it's kind of funny. I've found that the crappie in the springtime, when they're shallow, they'll really groove to that blue and that purple. But almost all of them will eat white. But it's kind of funny. I've noticed sometimes the panfish will get selective. One day they'll eat that orange up and they won't look at another color. And then another day they might eat that green and not look at another color. And then some days they'll eat anything you throw at them. I figured they were kind of like a freestone trout. That if the food goes by, they got to get it while it's there. But no, they get pretty selective sometimes. So it depends on the time of the year. Now these are really good panfish fly too. Like I said, I will use these as a dropper on a dropper rig in the lake. Put me a stimulator on the surface, drop one of these down about, a couple feet, and depending on the depth of the bottom. Usually I'll be fishing up in the shallows. And you'll catch just as many on that doggone stimulator on the surface sometimes as you will on that nymph down below. So experiment with your colors and get what you like. I call them panfish Skittles. I'll carry a little box with like half a dozen of them of every one of these colors. So you get you some of the dubbing. Don't take much. Really doesn't take too terribly much of the dubbing. And you see, I kind of got it a little bit bigger down here than I do up there. That's a Kelly Gallup thing. That'll help build your taper. No need to preen this stuff and go crazy with it. But you do want to get it in your dub loop there pretty good. I've gotten to where I tie almost all even my gold-ribbed hares, ears, and stuff like that. I'll tie them with a dubbing loop. I kind of like that dubbing loop a little bit more secure. Start twisting her up. Even help it a little bit when I'm starting along. A little bit of touch dubbing almost. There's 70 near thread, so you don't want to get that dubbing loop too tight because it'll break. Yeah, I got a pretty good dubbing loop. Now, take me some thread. Trying to get it to where that dubbing itself is going to start right about at the base of the tail. At the back of the fly there. And work your way forward. You can help build the taper by wrapping back on itself some, but for the most part, it's just a pretty thin nymph. Take a little bit, help build that taper. Okay, could have used just a little more dubbing, but we'll let her ride just like that. Now you're going to secure your dubbing loop. If your dubbing gets a little too fuzzy, I'll take my scissors and I'll trim it down right here. But I don't feel the need to in this case. We're going to leave it buggy. Trim with your dubbing loop out of there. think I will give it just a little trim. But, you know, personal preference. There, I got my body dubbed on. Build it up a little bit for my hackle. It'll be basically a soft hackle. Partridge soft hackle there. Okay, now we're ready for that collar. Any old partridge feather, do it just like you would a soft tackle, a North Country spider, or plain old soft tackle. I'll sometimes use hen back or hen. It just depends on what you like. Like on the green ones, a lot of times I got a dyed green India hen. I'll use that. You know, it just depends. For the most part, you can get by with just plain old partridge feathers all the time if you want to. Get your partridge feathers ready to tie in. Now, some people I know, I've seen some tires like you clip that and leave a little triangle there on the front. I don't like to do that. I've tied most of the big flies lately. I get that hackle tied in, that partridge tied on good. I'll fold back the tip and get it. Fold back the tip and wrap over on it. It helps kind of like a double secure, holding it in place. Then I can trim what's left of that tip out of my way. There, now we're ready to go. If you hackle pliers, these partridge feathers can be kind of a bear to deal with. If you messed with them before, you know that. I'll take it and preen them feathers back and wrap them on, basically doing a soft tackle. Soft tackle collar. That way you like it. Pop that soft tackle. Really well. Trim the stem out of there. Here I am rolling it over so I don't cut the thread. Well, a lot of people don't realize a lot of the bodkins have a little hollow. People don't realize your bodkin's not just your bodkin, it can also be a double half hitch tool. I'll get me a double half hitch in there just to secure it. A good whip finish. No need for a rib or anything on this fly. Trim that off. A bit of good old Sally Hansen's. Typically I'd have my body actually dubbed up a little bit more. I got a little lazy on this one. Oop, better catch it before it trips. A little lazy on this one. I really should have had just a touch more dubbing or added a touch more. That's no biggie. It's mostly a panfish fly, so that's pretty much Delia's white ghost. Really, man, that's some version of a ghost is now my go-to panfish subsurface fly. And then, like I say, those crappie in the springtime are in good and shallow. Use your dry and a dropper. It's all unless you can feel them crappie bite. A dry and a dropper for crappie is killer because if you'll see just a little motion on that stimulator, and you'll know to set the hook easy because crappie got soft mouths, so they'll easily pull out. But really good fly for the panfish and the springtime crappie. Delia's white ghost. I'll tie orange ghost, green ghost, black ghost, like I say, any color you like. Y'all be good to each other and go out and catch you some fish.